Hey everybody, it's Ellen at Crazy for You, and things are just a little crazy here tonight. I thought I had scheduled everything because I normally do that on Monday when I do my newsletter, but apparently I neglected to actually schedule this video live, so I apologize. Anyway, so it's going to be really fun tonight because I wanted to talk a little bit about outerwear. So we are constantly knitting like sweaters that we're wearing to work or inside or whatever. But now that the weather has gotten just a little bit colder, you get to be mid-November and there's a little snap in the air. And all of a sudden you're thinking, "Ooh, sweaters." So I don't know where you are necessarily, but we're here in Maryland, in Southern Maryland, and like from a growing standpoint, I don't know if you're a plant person or whatnot, but we're like zone 7. So we have seasons and we have winter, and occasionally we get snow. It's much, much warmer than or colder than, say, Charleston, South Carolina. But, it doesn't get cold like it does in New England here. So a lot of times I hear people say in the area, I don't really need a coat. I just need a great sweater. But there's a real difference between like a sweater that you would wear kind of to keep the chill off during the day or whatever, that and an outerwear sweater, right? Do you know what I mean? Tell me in the comments if you know what I mean. Hey, Gwen. Hey, Rita. Hey, Ellen. Evelyn. Nice to see you guys as always. Um, so, you know, if you look on Ravelry, they have like um, they have a category to search for coats and cardigans and all this stuff. And coats and jackets are kind of lumped together. But I really think that they're super different. So when I think jacket, like I'm thinking something fairly structured that you would wear in place of a woven jacket, like instead of a blazer, or instead of a Chanel kind of jacket, sort of as an office wear piece. I'm not thinking about that in terms of like a jean jacket that you would wear outside, or a little jacket that you'd put on because you're chilly. Does that make sense at all? Um, I'm thinking more like something that you would wear to kind of keep warm. Aw. Thank you. You like this cardigan? This is one of my favorites too. I was thinking that we'd have a little knit along. I can show you real quick that I have on my tank with it. So I'm actually really doing my whole layering of hand knits tonight, which is kind of fun. This is one of those pieces that I wear like all the time because it takes the place of like a little cami. It's just a little tank that I wear under things all year round. And in the summer, I can wear it kind of by itself if I want to bare my shoulders, which I hardly ever do. Anyway, hey, Amelia, nice to see you. So yeah, Gwen loves bulky outdoor sweaters. So I think let's talk a little bit about what makes like great outerwear. Okay. So I think it's a couple things. And first, it's going to be your fabric. So for me, outerwear fabric is knit a little more densely. So you might be using a worsted weight yarn, but you'd be knitting it more tightly. You might be knitting it at 21. I mean, I typically don't think of very many outerwear garments knit in worsted weight. I kind of think of an outerwear garment starting somewhere around the range of like an Aran weight. But everybody's different and everybody prefers kind of a different texture. But as far as yarn, I think it starts at a little heavier gauge. And I think that the fabric that you're creating with it is going to be knit a little more tightly, and it's going to have a lot more structure. So it's very, very hard to get a lot of structure in a fingering weight garment. You're just not going to get it. It just doesn't have, each strand doesn't have enough strength to kind of stand up on its own. So you want, for an outerwear piece, probably you want to have a little bit of structure. So you want a heavier weight yarn, and you want, as I said, a fabric that's going to be knit a little more tightly together. So think about how, you're looking for this to provide warmth, protection from the cold and maybe protection from the wind. So the more tightly knit your fabric is, the more of that kind of warmth and protection that you're going to get. It's also really nice when you have a yarn that has a little bit of a fuzz or a little bit of fuzzy texture to it, because that's going to fill in the little holes in between your stitches. So anytime you're making an outerwear garment, you're going to want to maybe think about something that has a little bit of a fuzz or a little bit of loft that's going to expand into those spaces, like brushed fleece or kid classic, or anything like big wool that's really lofty, that's going to kind of crunch in and then expand. Do you know what I'm saying? So let's see. Well, good evening, Valerie. How are you? Joining us from England. Gwen, nice to see you. Thanks. All right, Ellen, what is the name of the cardigan? Okay, the name of this cardigan is the Essential Cardigan. And it's designed from interweave from a long, long time ago. And it is really cute. And I taught a class on it, and I think it's really a great design. It's probably shorter than I would normally make, but I do really like it a lot. And this is actually a fingering weight yarn held with a strand of kid silk haze. So it knits at like 20 stitches over 4 inches. So that's the gauge for this garment. I don't consider it outerwear. I would not wear this over something. But anyway, I didn't mean to distract, but I did want to answer your question. Hey, Sherry. Sandy, nice to see you. Okay, so back to outerwear. Outerwear, you've got more structure, you've got a heavier weight garment. And the other thing that makes a hand knit, and you can make any hand knit outerwear by making it larger. Okay, so an outerwear is something that is going to have a lot more ease, because a cardigan, you don't necessarily intend to wear that over anything heavier than a blouse or a light turtleneck, right? But an outerwear piece, you're going to wear over maybe a blouse and a cardigan, or a blouse and a pullover. So this is something that you're going to put on over your regular outfit and wear outside. So it's going to need to have more ease in the body, and especially in the armhole. So if you're looking at something that you're thinking, oh, this is outerwear, I mean, all the rules that we talk about in terms of finding your fit and finding the amount of ease you like are different if it's outerwear, because again, it needs to go over at least one big and possibly 2 big layers, right? So you're not going to end up with something that fits closely, because that's going to be uncomfortable. When you get multiple layers, you really want to have more ease in the armhole area and even in the shoulder area. And I talk a lot about how important it is for your garments to fit you in the shoulder. And it really is. But when you've got a couple layers over it, you're going to need more space. A couple layers under it, you're going to need more space for that garment, that outerwear garment. So those are some key factors that make a cardigan an outerwear, not just a cardigan or a jacket. Another thing that I think is important that makes something outerwear is it's usually going to be not a pullover. Okay, certainly there are heavy garments with a lot of ease that you can wear over multiple layers. But the idea for me of an outerwear garment is that it's something that you're going to pick up and put on when you go outside, get in your car, and when you get to the place that you're going or you finish your walk, you're going to take it off. And it's a lot easier to shed layers out of outerwear when you don't have to pull them off over your head. So that's another factor that I consider to be outerwear. Tell me what you think. I'm interested in your opinion on outerwear and whether it meets the same kind of qualifications and characteristics that I've indicated. So I would be interested in hearing that. I'm looking at, so hey, Sandy, nice to see you. Norma, oh my goodness. Sherry, you're so sweet. I'm so glad. That's what we want to do. You know, I'm on a mission to create an army of competent, confident knitters making garments they love to wear. So, you know, it's all about the hand knit wardrobe. And we do have to have, you know, outerwear as part of our hand knit wardrobe. You know, we think about those kinds of things less frequently because we don't think about knitting a coat always. But I think it's so cool. So some things to consider when you are making an outerwear garment, because they tend to be heavy, because they tend to be bulkier garments and have more structure. You do typically want them to be seamed garments. Everybody who likes seamless is going to argue with me and disagree and say, oh my goodness, that's not true. And I will tell you that there are a couple garments in my presentation tonight that are all in one. But as a rule, I think you're going to be happier if this large, heavy, structured, tightly knit garment has the structure of seams at the shoulder and seams at the side, just to help it stay in place. You typically see a lot of cables, a lot of pattern stitches, because they lend bulk and structure to your garment. So, and they in turn need the structure of a seamed construction. So that's just my bias. You know what it is. You know what you get when you listen to me. It's always going to be that I prefer seamed construction. That doesn't necessarily mean that I prefer set-in sleeve construction for outerwear, because it's a different kind of fit. So you're absolutely fine with a drop shoulder or a raglan construction, which generally tend to give you more ease in that area anyway. So it's different than making a cardigan or a pullover. Making outerwear, making an outside your normal clothes garment is just a different process. Hey, Carolyn, nice to see you. Hey, Barbara. Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of us don't. Sherry's saying that she hasn't thought about knitting outer garments. Yeah, I think a lot of us don't think about that because it seems such a large scale. But, you know, a lot of these on these big needles, this is the answer to I want it done fast. You know, and generally, I think it can be challenging to wear very bulky garments, but it's less challenging to wear a very bulky garment when the scale of the garment is in keeping with the scale of the yarn. Do you know what I mean? So a super bulky yarn looks much more at home in a large, long duster or a very oversized cabled, you know, short coat than it does in a tank, or even those little sweaters that used to be popular a few years ago, the sleeveless turtleneck, chunky weight sweaters. I always found those so incredibly awkward. I never knit one. I mean, you know what I'm talking about, right? I saw them in ready to wear, and a lot of my friends had them, and I always thought, you know, I could knit that, but I don't like the way it looks. Again, that's my bias. All right, so yes, we need seams. Gwen, you and I just like seams anyway. Yeah, so Jenna knit a really cute garment called Nippy by Kim Hargreaves. I should have put this in the presentation, but I did not, with 2 strands of Alpaca Classic held together. And that was bulky and it was full of cables. So what that did was it took a finer weight yarn and doubled it to give it the additional structure. And then those cables also add structure. It's still not something that's going to protect her from the wind, but it's definitely something that she could put on over a couple layers for outside and be plenty warm, especially since that Alpaca Classic has that little bit of a fuzz to it. You know what I'm talking about, right? So very, very pretty. Okay, so I did put together a little presentation for you, and I want to share that with you now. And that is here. Okay, so we're going to start with the thing that I said we didn't have, which is this is Heidi Kermeyer. It's called Snowbird, and it is knit in one piece from the top down because it's Heidi Kermeyer, and that's the way she does things. But I think this is really, really pretty, and I always have to throw some stuff in here for the in the round. But again, this is worked in stockinette at 20 stitches over 4 inches. So it's going to be okay without the seams. I think it would be better with, but it's going to be fine because it's not a super bulky thing. This is really cute with the pockets. This long kind of cuff, I think, is really cute and still continues to be very modern and popular. If I were making this, I would do this in Kid Classic, which is a beautiful worsted weight yarn by Rowan. It's made with kid mohair, but it's not a brushed kid, but it does have a tiny bit of fuzz to it, and it would be absolutely gorgeous in this. Alternatively, you could do this in felted tweed Aran, which would be also very lovely, but it's a little heavier than the Kid Classic. So if you're going with that in the round thing, I think you might want to stick with a lighter weight yarn. This would also be pretty in Katia Cotton Merino, which is a beautiful yarn constructed very much like Alpaca Classic, but it's a worsted weight. That would be just stunning in this. This next one, again, this is a knit all in one piece, but it has kind of a, it would be, who am I kidding? It's Joji Locatelli, right? Her stuff is great. Okay. It's just fabulous. And I'm willing to work with her because this is classic Joji Locatelli construction with that top seam at the shoulder. And I think it's just really, really pretty. This would be beautiful in the yarn we have called Santa Cruz. Anyway, very pretty with these cables, again, with the pockets, very, very nice. One other thing I'm going to break in here and just say is that when you're knitting outerwear, okay, outerwear means that it's probably not going to be in contact with your skin directly. Even a cardigan like I have like this is on my skin. I have to be okay with Kid Silkhaze directly on my skin, and I totally am. But there are yarns, and Santa Cruz and La Pampa and felted tweed Aran are all examples of yarn that you don't pick up in the shop and say, ooh, that's so soft. I want that right next to my skin. I mean, you can wear it next to your skin, absolutely. But if you're sensitive, it's one of those that's more likely to bother you. But it has the durability that comes with that lack of softness. Remember, softness and durability are on opposite ends of the same spectrum. So with an outerwear garment, you want to pick one of those yarns that's more durable. So a yarn that doesn't feel quite as soft, that's not going to wear out in 5 minutes or pill under the arms. Okay. All right. Now, back to your regularly scheduled program. Yes, the Joji Locatelli cardigan is cabled. These are all big, juicy cables on there. So really pretty. I will show you that again. Big, juicy cables in there. It's called the Ranch Coat, and that's really pretty. And this has what I consider, like the others, to have a nice outerwear length. I mean, this is going to keep you warm all the way down past your rear end. So your whole trunk is going to be kept warm by these. And I do think that having it nice and long is a feature for outerwear. All right, what do we have next? Tilted Duster. Okay, so this has been one of my favorites. This is not a new pattern. This is a pattern from 2012, but I still think it's fantastic. It is knit by one of my favorite designers, Nora Gahn, who at the time she designed this was creative director for Barocco Yarns, and she knit it in Peruvia, which is an Aran weight yarn. It's a single ply. A little bit more fragile because it is a single ply. I think it would be perfect in this Santa Cruz that I just showed you, knit at a gauge of 17 stitches over 4 inches. And if you chose to do this, you would definitely want to make this set-in sleeve have a little more ease than you might typically choose for a set-in sleeve. But isn't that cute? I think it's so pretty. And I had thought also that it might be interesting to see in a Noro yarn. To see how the stripes would go. But it's very appealing with that heathered yarn, and Santa Cruz is a pretty heathered yarn, and I think that would be really nice. So I'm going from lightest weight to heaviest weight. Ellen loves the tilted, oops, not that. Ellen loves the tilted duster. I love this too. I think this would be a fun knit along. Okay, what's next? Okay, Emerson. This is by Veronique Avery and for Brooklyn Tweed. This is an Aran weight, again, worked in stockinette. It's miles and miles of stockinette without a lot going on. So I think you kind of want a yarn that's got a little more interest to it. So felted tweed Aran would be really pretty in that, as would Noro. So this is a seamed piece. So your blocks, your stripes of Noro would be nice and visible. So I think this would be really pretty. And again, the pockets are really nice. You don't have to go inside your outside garment to get your keys or whatever. So very pretty. This is a seamed construction, worked from the bottom up. This is really pretty by Nancy Eisman. This is a bulky weight. I don't know. For me, there's something just so beautiful about a pleat in a knitted garment. I think this is just gorgeous. Like I said, this is a bulky weight garment knit at 16 stitches over 4 inches. So bulky typically works at 12. So you're getting a garment that's worked a little tighter. So you want something that's lofty and that is going to squish down nicely for you. So Marina Aria would be beautiful in this. I think you probably could also get La Pampa to that gauge, and that would be really pretty. La Pampa is by Juniper Moon, as is Santa Cruz. La Pampa is Santa Cruz's big sister. So Santa Cruz is worsted weight and La Pampa is a bulky. But isn't this pretty? Look at this pretty little cable detail. And then at the front, it's just plain with a little seed stitch detail. Verena, again, I love that pleat in the back. This is more kind of a, like instead of a jean jacket, you know, this is one of those, it's a cute little cropped jacket. We had this here at the shop when I had the Cocoa Knits trunk show, and it was fabulous. So cute. Everybody loved it. I think Jenna tried it on. Sue Davis tried it on. It was super, super popular. And my daughter, Elizabeth, who lives in Seattle, actually took a class at her local yarn store to learn to do the Cocoa Knits method to make this jacket. Because it is a top down, you can make it any length you want. Of course, you know, whether it's a top down or not, you can make it any length you want. But I think this is really pretty. And you can add the buttons to the front as she's done here. It's got a cute stand-up collar. And although it is top down and worked in one piece, it has English tailoring and the equivalent of a set-in sleeve. So it is going to give you the structure that you need. This would be beautiful in Santa Cruz. It would also be beautiful in Manos Alegria Grande. You could do this in the Noro Hunui, that new single source beautiful yarn from New Zealand. So I think that's a really pretty jacket. You do need to know the Cocoa Knits method to make this, but that's definitely something that is easy enough to learn. And I have a class on it. Okay, I love this. The Long Line Coat by Qual Studio. This is bulky, not bulku. It's a bulky weight yarn. It is written for Rowan brushed fleece. So brushed fleece is, as you know, just a very, the yarn has been teased up to give it a lot of structure. It would also be pretty in tweed haze. They are kind of interchangeable. This is lovely. I think that's so cute. Belted or not belted. I think it's such a stylish look. Do you like this? I love it with the boots too. This kind of breaks the rules that I was talking about. You can see through the back that it has a bit of a lace in there. So this would be more maybe a spring kind of garment. spring outerwear, maybe, or early fall. It's not going to give you any wind protection, but it is beautiful. Okay, this is winter. I think you have seen this before in one of my presentations on Rowan Mode. I think this is just the most luxe, amazing coat ever. Qual Studio designed this for soft boucle. And you see it here in the oatmeal color and here in bear. Just gorgeous and luxurious and so nice. That would be the kind of outerwear that you would put on over your pajamas as you go out to get your paper. Anyway, really, really pretty. I think that's very elegant, very long. It'd be a lot of knitting, wouldn't it? Reverse stockinette, but pretty. Okay, now here is something that I think is just amazing. Isn't this amazing? Oh my gosh. This is called Sylvi, and this is by Marie Muininen. And it is worked in pieces, but look at this cable work on this. Wouldn't you just feel like the most gorgeous, grown up Little Red Riding Hood ever? Beautiful, just beautiful. It has this great flared shape that's so incredibly flattering to everyone. Fabulous hood that you pull up when the wind gets a little chilly. I love the detail at the cuff. And this vine cable that explodes in this flower is just amazing. Oh my gosh. I love this so much. I think it's super, super cute. And that would be really, really fun to knit. I saw this on Ravelry. And if you look at it on Ravelry, you will also see that one knitter worked the flower in a different color than the body of the garment. And she did this vine that goes up to connect the stem of the flower to the blossom in kind of a green. And she did the leaves in green. Oh my gosh. All I have to say is, yep, just like Barbara. Wow. Right? Wow. That would be in the category Amelia always likes, fun to knit and fun to wear. Talk about not miles and miles of stockinette. Fabulous. So, yeah, I think that's all I have for you. No, I have one more. Okay. And this is in Rowan Big Wool. And this is designed by Martin Story. This is really a beautiful jacket. We had this in the trunk show last year. Very, very pretty. Easy cables. So if you're a little anxious about cables, this is an easy way to do it. It's got a nice mix of garter and stockinette and some garter ridges. Really pretty in big wool. Got a drop shoulder design, so you know it's going to be nice and easy fitting. I think this is just very, very attractive. This is from the Mode collection by Martin Story. And that is my last one to share with you. So what do you think? Are you ready to knit an outerwear garment? Have you thought about knitting an outerwear garment before? I mean, there really are tons of them. I didn't put any of the Kim Hargreaves designs in this presentation because her designs are not available on Ravelry. But if you have the winter book, she has a beautiful design in there for it's in the green color, the cactus color of big wool. Just a beautiful, beautiful long jacket in there. Not a duster length, but a nice length in there. Really, really pretty. I think that's in winter. It might also be in, come on, you Kim Hargreaves fans, tell me. Yeah, would the big wool be heavy? It would definitely be heavier than, say, the Merino Aria. Because it's plied rather than a modern construction, but it's not going to be any heavier than a coat. Do you know what I mean? So I appreciate your thoughts on that. I have that put up as a kit in the shop too, in that color. It's just really lovely. The hokey one is really pretty, isn't that? Yeah. So that would also, I didn't mention it, but I think the hokey one would be beautiful in merino aria, and that would make it light. That would lighten it up quite a bit over the others, because it's got that modern construction that makes it so light. So that would be a good idea. Let me look back at that and see that real quick. Yeah, I think you could. Here, I'm going to share this. I think you could work Hohi's coat in merino aria, and that would be really, really nice. Yes, I know you love Kim Hargreaves' designs. We do too. Risa, if you're thinking about that, it might be that you could do it in brushed fleece. The jacket would have a little bit less stitch definition, but it would definitely be lighter. I have a coat knit in felted tweed chunky that would be approximately the same, and I can bring that in and show it to you. But probably the best thing to do would be to come in and hold a bag of the big wool and just see how much that would weigh, so, and whether you would be comfortable with that. So I think that's kind of a good idea. All right, so that is what I have for you tonight. And I hope that I've made you think a little bit about the idea of knitting a coat instead of maybe buying a wool coat. So it's not something that's going to protect you from a squall. You'll still need something when it's snowing, but in the kind of transitional, temperate fall, warm winter, early spring kind of climate that we have here, it's definitely a garment that you would enjoy wearing for a long time. You would get a lot of wear out of it. And you can change the look. You can change it from a fall garment to a spring garment simply by changing the color. The same yarns would be used, but whereas you might use a cinnamon color for a fall, you might use a soft green or a pale apricot for spring. So anyway, just something to think about. And yes, merino aria would be wonderful. Anyway, you are welcome, ladies. Thank you for joining me. It's been a pleasure. And until next time, keep knitting and create something beautiful. Thanks so much.